folks. I am Ishan. Nice to meet you, everyone. Hope you have had like good sessions till now. I hope. Today I'm talking about like understanding how AI like if you're an AI engineer, you want to understand how AI works underneath, like how like Claude is working, like how is it responding to users, is it working fine, is it hallucinating, and where I can improve my like Claude app, for example. It can apply to any AI app that you're working on. Right. A little about me. I can stay here if you want to look at the slides. I'm a senior engineer. I work on a lot of open source tools, right? Like Ansible is one of them. The operator is one of them. Like really love the open source community and stuff like that. So really working on those tools. I am a SRE and I've also been like an aerospace student before. And I've fun fact, I've written like a research paper on like if you've seen like space. How many of you have seen like SpaceX rockets like landing and stuff like that? So I used to work on stuff like that, which was cool, I would say, but not the healthiest. Yeah, cool. Let me start. I can stand here as well. All right, so this is a story about like what happened with us. We were working on an AI assistant, and we wanted to build something in for the users. This is what happened in like a staging environment that we were testing with, right? The assistant was supposed to be just a chat-based assistant where like a user can ask anything about observability, and we will help answer them basically, right? We created like an AI agent, and surprisingly it got stuck. It made a lot of LLM requests overnight, right? The bill was huge. I don't think it was still this big. It was around this number exactly. The finance team was like, "This is too big. You need to shut this down." So yeah, but at that time, since we are still an observability team, right? But at that time, since this wasn't staging, we were like, we don't really need any observability as such, because this staging, this is not like an important environment for us, right? But next day when we all logged in, we saw the bill and our account was suspended because we had exceeded the limits that we had set. So yeah, that's when like where we understood, all right, we are working as an observability team. We are working on something which we don't really understand how it works. I mean, we understand to an extent, but how it works, how it responds, how it reasons, that's still vague. There's no reasoning behind that, right? So yeah, what we understood at the end of the day, this was like last year specifically, just for context. I'll let them join in. But yeah, the LLMs are black boxes essentially. We don't, like when you say hi, like it can respond with a hello, it can respond in thank you for, let's say, if it's hallucinating, right? So LLMs, we don't understand how they work. They are black boxes. They hallucinate. We can't trust them. Like you won't trust an LLM with your finances. I hope. I hope no one's doing that yet. But yeah, and they are like if you have them running daily, it's not cheap to run. Yeah, it's very expensive. This is an example that I could find a screenshot of. Yeah, this is a classic example of an LLM or an AI agent hallucinating, because I don't expect anyone to be using glue in their pizzas. I hope no one's using that, but if you are, you need a different session, I would say. Sorry. All right. So a lot of us have built like applications, I would assume, right? So we understand like if it's a classic application, let's say it's a web page, we want to see, all right, how much CPU memory and all of that is the web app using, right? We want to see if there are any HTTP errors like 403, 404, 405, like issues like that, right? And how is the response time, how is the load times and the latency, stuff like that. But similar rules don't technically apply to an AI agentic or like an LLM based app, because the things we want to track, like a load time, would not be it's still important, but it's not the most important criteria end of day, right? We want to understand how much tokens it's using, what prompt it used, how much Caching was used for the LLM response in token usage. Yeah, and costs are a lot in LLMs. Am I still audible to everyone, right? Yeah. Right. That was for LLMs specifically. Now, if you have like in right now, like AI agents are like being hyped up everywhere, right? How do you optimize like an AI agentic application? Like, what do you want to understand, right? If anyone's built an AI agentic application, you would understand like it's not a single agent. Uh, a single AI agentic application might have a lot of agents working underneath. Like, for example, Claude Code, it has multiple agents working underneath. Let's say, right? So you want to understand like what agent did what and at what step it had the task transferred to like the second agent, let's say, right? Yeah, that's that. And like what tools, for example, if I'm cloud coding, I'm doing something, right? What tools did Cloud Code use, right? What access did it have? What website it scraped for, let's say, right? And was there any success? Did it try scraping a website which did not exist, let's say, right? And ideally, we also want to understand, all right, I built an application with Cloud Code, but what steps did it actually take? Like from the start to the end, I want to understand like what steps it take because I want to replicate this process, right? So all of this is like very important if you're building any AI agentic application. Cloud Code is an example. If you're working at Anthropic, that's your application, right? Um, these were the problems I would say I wanted to highlight. I wanna now start going to like how do we fix this issue. We can't fix everything for like fully, but we can get there. Like it's a start, right? How many of you have seen this logo anywhere? All right. This is the hotel in short, right? This is the like second fastest growing CNCF tool right now, or like a data standard. It's essentially a data standard for like metrics, logs, and traces from your application itself. And it's being the de facto standard for like observing infrastructure, observing applications, observing AI, observing databases. It's a de facto standard right now, right? It has a very wide ecosystem. A lot of companies adopt this, like from the largest to the smallest right now. And the big selling point is like it's vendor neutral. You can send an hotel formatted data to like any observability tool of your choice. It's not built for any like Datadog, for example. It's a vendor neutral tool, right? So it's like, I know people can't see. Oh, yeah. It's a USB-C of observability at the end of the day, right? Cool. So now we understand the problem. We have the understanding of the data standard also, which we want to use, right? Now, how do we do this, right? So I have like 3 examples for you guys. Any of you can use any of the 3, but depends on your use case, end of the day, right? So if you want to add observability to your, say, the AI agentic application, the hotel has their SDKs that you can add at your runtime. Like you add the specific line and there's your runtime. Like it can be, say, for a Java application can be different, but this is your runtime for the application specifically, right? And you specify like where do you want the metrics and traces from your applications. Sorry, I should remove here. Where do you want the applications and metrics to be moved specifically, right? Which tool at the end of the day. So the problem with this, sorry, the the easy thing with this is like you don't really have to change your application code at the end of the day, right? This all at runtime. You change your Docker image, let's say, add this thing, and you have like observability for your AI agent. But what it does is like it only gives you a basic overview of the agent, like all right, what HTTP requests it made, what website it went through. So it's not that in depth, but at least you have something to start with. All right. Now we want something more detailed. All right. What was the LLM response to a specific thing that the user asked? How much tokens it used? What was the cost of each request? So if you have to do that, this is like a example code. You can see it's very long and very small text because I had to fit it in a single screen. But like no one wants to do this at the end of the day, because it's too much work for something that you don't really understand. Like how useful is this at the end of the day, right? But it does the job for you. If you have the time to spend, I would say spend time and add like all of this in your application code. It is useful, and you have more like you can understand how the LLM and the agent application is doing. So these were two use cases, right? But now as a user, I'm like, I want something which is very, very simple at the end of the day, but I also want the in-depth analysis of what my application is doing, right? So this is like an open source SDK. I'm not really associated with them, so I'm not marketing them at all. But the thing with this SDK is like it is OTel native, which I defined like earlier. It is very much OTel native. You can use the SDK to send data to any observability tool of your choice, and it tracks your entire workflows for AI agents. It has integration for like vector DBs, LLMs, GPUs, for example. That's so it does the entire monitoring for your AI stack, right? If you're self-hosting GPUs, perfect for you, for everyone, right? So there are two ways that you can do this, right? If you have time to change your application code, you just need to add like 2 lines. I don't know how much visible these 2 lines are for you people here, but it's 2 lines, I would say. Right? And if you can't change your application code, end of the day, like the OTel SDK, you just instrument it at the runtime itself. You maybe change a Docker image, let's say, and you have like I'll show what information you have like post all of this, right? There's another way of doing this which I didn't really document right now. If you are on the there's a K8s operator. If you are on the K8s environment clusters, if you're using, there's a K8s operator which injects all of the observability. You don't need to change anything in your application, Docker images, or you don't even need to redeploy. But that's like a bit specific niche, so I didn't really want to. But that's another thing that you could use, right? Right. I will share like what traces and what sequence of events that I can get. But what essentially I wanted to track was how much cost by each LLM. Like GPT-5, is it cheaper than GPT-4? Let's say, right? Or that's the thing. But is it being useful for me? Is GPT-5 responding in a much nicer way than GPT-4 was? Let's say. Right, cost by agent, cost by task. I want to drill down like cost by each specific function that I have, right? Red flags that I want to watch for in cost, because we don't want like a large AWS bill assigned to us next day, right? We want to track like inefficient prompts. We want to track the cache, because OpenAI has this, like you can cache the prompts as well, right? So essentially you want to track the overall cost, but as an engineer, I want to track cost by each function, each LLM, each application, and each environment also, right? All of what I said was observability that you added to your code, right? Now we know what's happening, or like what your AI agent is doing, but do we still know that whatever it did was the right thing or not? No, right? That's where evals are like very, very important. We want to understand like whatever task the agent did, did it hallucinate? Did it scrape the right website, let's say, right? We want to be sure of all of this. So there are different techniques of how you can evaluate your AI agent or like an LLM application, right? Sorry. Deterministic is something like you add like a regex thing, or did it scrape this website? Did it have this text in its responses? But that's like you need like a large database of regex things, I would say. The second one is like you use an LLM to define if the LLM responded in the first LLM responded in the right way, right? The second LLM would need all of the context, all of the information and everything, but we use an LLM to define did the first LLM respond in a right way or wrong way, right? And the second and the most trusted form of way is like we go to each LLM request, we tag it like, all right, this response is correct, this response is wrong, but in the day of AI, I don't think any one of us have that's like this much time to mark each request as good or bad. If you do, I think you could do a lot more with your time. Right. So I wanted to show a quick code test or like in a small agentic application that I have, which sorry, it's a
Slightly bigger.
yeah, that's it's smaller for me as well on the screen. Let's say this. Yeah, or you can also scan this if you want to see the actual code in the repo, because I'm just running that. And you can try it like later on. If there are any issues with the repo, if it's accessible, if it's not accessible, let me know. I can make it public right now because this happened at a conference with me. Cool. Let's right. So the agent, is this big enough? I don't want to show the application itself. I just want to show the the run of the application, right? Right. So all I have to do is this is my agentic application. It does something. That's it. You can assume it to be anything, right? All I had to do was add the OpenNet instrument in my code, and initially I had also defined. I'm just running back my nope. This is my OpenAI key. Yep. I need to define like, all right, where do I need to send the traces, the metrics, and the logs to, right? So I define the endpoint as an env. I decide. I said I can expose this. I think it's fine. I expose the headers, the actual authentication to send the data to, right? And once I have that, I can just run my application with OpenNet instrument, and hopefully it does work. It's a live thing. All right. Where would you like to go? I want to go to Berlin, Germany. Let's say my trip is for 3 days. I am just one person traveling. Let's say it's 2000. These are the dates 21 to 20, 23, 20, 25. What are your interests? I would need a bit of help from any of you locals because I know nightlife and food are like very big. Beer is very nice here. History?
Yeah. And dinner.
Sorry?
Dinner.
Donor? Yeah, that's on my list. But I'm vegan, so I still want to find like good vegan. There are? I would need a list out of the session, I would say. Cool. History, donor, let's say culture as well. Right. I can only stay at a mid-range hotel, let's say, and I can make this. Can I make this big? Yes. Let's pull this. All right. So the agent started working. It's doing something that which we don't really need to go in depth of because that's not the idea of the session. But the idea is the agent is doing something, and now we want to understand what each step the agent did. Right. We can see in logs also, but the thing is like logs wouldn't give you the specific sequence of events. Like it'll be tough for you to actually visualize all right what event happened after what. Right. Traces give you a cleaner tree view of like, all right, this request happened, then this request happened, then this task happened, which I'll come to, right? Right. I did not plan for what I should do after this. Cool. All right. While the code is running, I can hopefully present still. Oh, nope. Actually, I can take some, like if anyone wants to ask anything while this code is running, I can take those questions. I will show you what the output looks like. That's like the end. But if anyone has anything to ask in between, I can answer. Yes.
Where you somehow adjust your style of writing code, or it is completely code style agnostic?
Yeah, it is agnostic completely. Yeah, like you don't really care as long as all right. The way the OpenIt SDK works is like it wraps around like if you're using the LangChain or like OpenAI or something like the SDK itself, it wraps around those SDKs and the function calls itself. So if you decide to make like an HTTP request to OpenAI, then those information would not be tracked. Let's
Yeah.
say.
Okay.
So yeah, as long as you're using something, there's an error which we can see. This is great because this will help me tell you like how the errors are like visualized end of the day. Right. I think you also had a question.
Yeah, I see that you're using Crew AI.
Yeah.
Is it also, how does it work with other frameworks like LangGraph?
Oh, it does. The OpenLite SDK I know works very well with LangChain, LangGraph, Creo AI, a lot of agent tech frameworks that you know. The Google ADK I'm not fully sure yet. Yeah, a lot of these tools do. Like even Creo AI has its own observability integration within itself. But the problem arises when, say, you're using Creo AI for a specific use case, but you also have like, say, the OpenAI SDK for a separate use case in the same application. You have a vector DB SDK for like another operation, let's say. What OpenIT would help you give is like it'll give you the complete information of all of the operations combined. Whereas Creo AI would only have information about Creo operations. So you don't still have the complete information. You would have to add like a lot of things. Yeah, this would take a while. I would say 5 minutes or something. But let me. I'm doing a lot of things live, so if anything breaks, it's on the demo. It's not on me. Uh, yep. All right. So as you can see, my application is still running, but the OpenIT SDK starts sending traces already, right? So you can see something's happening. It has the traces. It's not complete yet. It's still doing a lot of operations, but I can see it had some errors, right? If I'm running a agent live and I want to see like where is it erroring, I know where exactly it errored, right? I can go and see, is it still small enough, or I can make it bigger. All right, it had like a get issue at this specific URL, but we also want to understand why did it exactly go to this URL, right? So I can go to my actual ChatGPT response and I can see that's where the LLM actually recommended for the Creo AI to actually scrape this website, right? So now I know, all right, the LLM was actually recommending this website. That's why it went there. End of day, right? And why did went it into this website? We'll have more details, like what tools it used to actually end up on the website. Like it had a tool usage, and the tool usage was read website content for, let's say, that's a tool's name. And there was more context in the tool which did not get tracked, I would say, but you can track it. If you wanted to track it, you can add like another, this is called span attribute. This entire thing is called a trace span attribute. You can add like multiple span attributes, right? Since we did it like the fast, simple, but like we want a detailed view, we had that, but you can always add more context to it. End of day. Is the application? Oh yeah, it did run. I I don't really care about like did it respond well or not, because my main goal is to show the trace at the end of the day, right? Let me close a few things so that's easier to understand. Right. Yep. So now I have complete workflow of what my Creo AI application was doing, or like how the agent creation was happening and what agent acted at what step, right? What step it left the information to and what agent it passed the information to, right? I can click into any of the agent. I can get like the entire context on what information was transferred to the second agent and stuff like that. But now as an AI engineer, I feel much more safer that I have the information that I need to make my application a lot nicer. I would say it respond in a much nicer way, right? But the second thing that I wanted to ask or like request was, all right, I have the information, but do I still know if the AI is responding in the right way or not? No, we just know that the AI is doing something. It's not doing the right thing or the wrong thing. We still don't know, right? That's where in the application itself, I using the same OpenTelemetry SDK itself, I had added like evaluate like each response the agent does. Like it passed the context, it passed the inputs and the outputs, right? And the OpenTelemetry SDK would use another LLM as a judge to evaluate if the request was right or wrong. All right. Let's go into a dashboard to see. Oops. Yeah, live demo. There was supposed to be data in this, but let me actually see if I have data on this. Right. So what the OpenTelemetry SDK actually did, can I make it like this? Yes. What the OpenTelemetry SDK actually did, which for some reason the visualization is not working, but I can actually show the metric is being tracked, right? It sent a metric, which is the eval request total, and then it also classified like, all right, like what's the evaluation classification, the explanation, all right, why was a response classified as hallucinated or racist or for anything, let's say, right? It has the reason, and then it has also a score that you can define. It can be something if you want, like, all right, if the score is beyond like 0.3, it is, we want to be notified about that. You can create like alerts on this, right? Because we don't want the agent to be having like racist answer, let's say, right? And yeah, so we now have partly the information about how the AI is doing, and we also have the information about how the AI is responding. Is it the right way or the wrong way, right? These were mock answers. These are not exactly part of the agent application that I created because that was working kind of perfectly fine, which I did not want to. So I had to add like failures in my application as a separate thing. So yeah, that was the demo. Most of it worked. The eval didn't work. Can I present it in a good way? Yeah. This was my slide. If the visualization did not work, I would have shown you the screenshot as a backup. But since it worked, oh, actually, I did not show you the screenshot. Now that I realize. All right. I had the trace. I showed you the traces and everything. Like as an engineer, I also want to understand like what's my total usage cost, or like each LLM request. How much is each request costing me? I can understand all of that. The traces can be viewed from here itself as well. But since we've already went into that, I don't want to go in there again. The costs are so small that it does not visualize properly, but we know there are costs as such. And then I can obviously understand, all right, if I'm evaluating between say OpenAI and Anthropic, I want to evaluate like which LLM or like which is faster, what's working, what's cheaper. Observability is also a fun way to understand all of that features. And time to first token is also very important. Like when was the first, like if you asked hi, when did the LLM say like write H for, let's say, right? How much time it took? So all of those information as a AI engineer is very, very important to me also. So yeah, this was the dashboard. Glad this screenshot helped in one way to remind me, I guess. Cool. Key takeaways from whatever we've learned from observability, from evals, that we do need a proper layered approach for agents. It can't be just CPU latency. We need much more in-depth information, and also about like if the inputs and outputs are right, are the right things that the agent is doing. Like, is the action that the LLM is doing is right or wrong? OpenLite is one of the SDKs which I recommended. You can use. It's very simple. It's open source. You can use it, add it for instrumenting your applications and agents. And this was a tech stack I used for like the visualization, the visualization of the agent, for the storage of the traces and the metrics. But you can, since OTel is vendor neutral, you can send the data to any stack that you wish. Cool. That was my session. I can take, if anyone wants to ask anything, I can help answer. This is my LinkedIn. URL, I guess, QR code. You can scan it if you wanna. If you have something that you wanna ask me later on. Feel free to do that. Connect with me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ishan.